There's much more that I would like to say to you all tonight. But I must first acknowledge the loss of a very fine person. You should be sitting here, enjoying our beers with us. I would like you all please to stand and raise your glasses to Anahit Gulian. Anahit was a person who exemplified many of the qualities that distinguish a person. She was a good and loyal friend, a hard worker. She valued fair play. Her death has affected you all, whether you knew her well or not. I think that you have the right, therefore, to know exactly how it came about. Anahit Gulian was murdered by Brendan Lorber.
Never proved it.
Your parents may not wish for me to tell you this. It is possible that they will be horrified that I have done so. Either because they will not believe that Brendan Lorber has returned, or because they think I should not tell you so, young as you are. It is my belief, however, that the truth is generally preferable to lies, and that any attempt to pretend that Anahit died as the result of an accident, or some sort of blunder of her own, is an insult to her memory. Remember, Anahit. Remember, if the time should come when you have to make a choice between what is right and what is easy. Remember what happened to a girl who was good and kind and brave, because she strayed across the path of Brendan Lorber. Remember Anahit Gulian.
Matt, I'm sorry I threw the piece of cheese at you. Brendan told me to do it. Okay, well, I don't have any poetry. Sorry. I guess I'll just read a part of this story that I like. Yes. Okay. As a machine, night ran smoothly. That is how the adults of the city saw the dark, a function with a product. The product was undesirable, empty elixir bottles in the drains, and rats in bad places. The product accumulated through the night hours, but was discovered simultaneously at the threshold hour of 9 in the morning. In darkness, the hours were hard to separate. They might have been paired with a thin knife or needle, but never with the eye or the mind. When adults had to put a name to the hour of misfortunes, they usually called it midnight. The citizens had a way of dividing time into exact tallies and segments, a comfort against the onslaught of moments. Juna felt that her movement was more fluid than that, too fluid to be split into minutes or even seconds. Out in the wet summer air, minutes and seconds didn't exist. She might have measured her night by footsteps, but even these were forgotten right after they happened. Her feet rose through familiar air, but stepped down into a separate plane, step by step. Her feet carried her down into the thick of the city, the concrete dragging her closer and closer to the tall alligator. It was a product of the machine as well, dragged through the air by some deep and intricate conveyor belt. Juna did not feel that she was herself this night, because she would not sneak after a person or creature most of the time. As the machine, night drew her after the tall shadow, down Rapid Street and across the intersection at 6th and Lip, past corners and upturned trash cans and streetlights standing at attention. If Juna was not herself, the alligator might not be its ordinary self either. She didn't pause to consider. She glided closer to the storefronts and walls, and if the alligator sensed her, it did not turn its head once. She was being pulled through the air and through time as well, midnight drawing closer. Tonight more than any other, she believed something strange could fall out of the rooftops, that buildings could bloom into caves. With the alligator always in sight, it was easier to believe that midnight was responsible for vanished children, or plagues, or any of the countless other things adults prophesized. The buildings had shrunk and wilted into the lots of Molt Square. Something snapped above her. It was only a tantamount banner, tossing in the breeze. When she looked back to the alligator, it had disappeared. Juna stood rooted, crushed that she'd let the alligator slip a second time. If it were Sathi, she'd have pinned the alligator by now and gotten answers out of its long jaw. A noise behind her distracted Juna from her disappointment. Expecting another waving monster face, she saw a gaggle of furies at the foot of the World Arena. Juna shrank closer to the wall of the post office. There was nowhere she could go without being seen. The furies got closer. Juna cast about. A manhole lid up the street lifted a few inches off the ground. Juna could see glowing eyes in its shadow, and then a hand emerged. The alligator beckoned to her. She ran along the wall as far as she could. Then she darted into the streetlight, running a straight line to the manhole. The alligator pulled her inside the manhole, setting her hands on the rung of the ladder. When the lid closed down over them, things got entirely dark. Juno wasn't used to being in the sewers without her headlight. She could feel the alligator's body beside hers. Their fingers were touching on the ladder. Its skin was smoother than she'd expected. She shut her eyes and climbed down the ladder. When she would climb down the glass ladder of the world arena, she would feel the air get warm and the wind get gentle as she descended. The sewers were a reversal, the depths awash with the cold wind from the seas. When her foot hit solid muck, she took her hands off the ladder and opened her eyes. I guess that's good enough. Sorry, that doesn't really make sense.